Welcome, and you're listening to Geekologist Radio, a division of the Mulehorn Gaming Network. Now,
shut up and sit down.
hey, it's Chris, aka Two Wolves, and welcome to Geekologist Radio, the podcast where we say screw the co and co-host and give you a crew of hosts. First up, let's introduce our crew for tonight's cast. First, we have Damien.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And now we have Brandon.
Hey, guys, what's going on?
And finally, our C-mate, Mike.
God, man, every time you have to call me, you have to make a pirate reference. Every time. Every time.
Listen, all right. Our nerdy friend, Mike.
Okay, I guess that works. What's up, guys? It's Mike.
At least he didn't call you Seaman.
Yeah, I guess that would
I
have
definitely
been
didn't
worse.
call you Seaman.
Yeah.
Phrasing.
Phrasing. All right, let's get into our first segment. We're going to be talking about some movies, and we're also going to be talking about some books. Let's talk about Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. So, I know that Chris is not a big Harry Potter fan.
Wait. Why did we have him on the show?
He's a muggle.
Not a fan.
He's
It's
a
okay,
muggle?
listen,
Oh,
I'm-
no,
I'm-
you filthy
no.
muggle. Get out of here.
Listen.
No,
I've
we're
read
all
the books.
Americans. Hold
I
on.
read the first two. I've seen the movie. I've read the first two and I've seen the movie. Just not a fan. But Mike has some interesting stuff about the newest book.
Right. I believe Brandon read the book as well, correct?
I
You
did.
did.
Took me 3 hours, but I read it.
Exactly.
Dang.
It did.
That's a trooper.
It's not a book in a sense. It's a play, and that's what the book is. It's the rehearsal edition of the play. So yes, you can sit down and read it in like a couple hours.
And the books, the Cursed Child and the Fantastical Beast, and where to find them?
No. The book is just the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
Oh, okay.
We're talking. That's the movie.
Again, we're talking about people that don't know anything about Harry Potter.
And you, I believe earlier you asked if it was something that you could just pick up if you hadn't read
Sure.
through the others. The answer is simply no.
Oh, dang.
Because if you haven't read the seven books or seen the 7 movies, you're gonna be like, huh, what's going on? Because everything in the 7th book, like no spoilers, everything is tied to what has previously happened over the past 10 years. Well, more than
Now,
that.
as a movie watcher, I'm told that the stuff that's in the books is like way more covered than what I'm watching
yes.
in the
Oh
film.
yeah. There's so much more
There's
detail.
so much more. Way more in the books than there is in the movies. Like, the movies, as a diehard Potter fan, the movies are crap in comparison. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the movies, but the books are just so much more immense to them, and so much detail, and different things happen, and it's just...
Because you're taking a 700-page book into a 2-hour movie, correct?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. That's
Some
what I
of them are not quite as long, but yeah. Matter of fact, I think the fifth book is the longest out of all of them, but it was the shortest movie out of the whole out of all 8 movies, because they split the last book
that's
up
crazy.
into 2 movies.
Can
Right.
you give us a general synopsis of what this play is without kind of spoiling, the basis of it?
I don't know that I can. Brandon, you wanna try to take a crack at that?
So basically, it centers around Harry and Draco Malfoy's sons, and they have a quote-unquote Harry Potter type adventure.
That's the best way to do it. I wouldn't go any further than that.
No, I don't want to go any further than that. Yeah, exactly.
This sounds like a typical trope of like, let's have the kids like Scrooge McDuck's grandsons, and like, I don't know, like this totally sound like, is it cheesy or is it actually is it an interesting story?
It's a good story.
It is. It's a great story. I'll be honest. It kind of threw me for a loop. Like, did it? It kind of references. I mean, obviously, it happens. It's part of the Harry Potter storyline, so it happens like way later on in the future. When he's got kids and all that stuff. But that ending to it, man, that's gut wrenching for him having to sit there, Brandon.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, we can't say much especially if you haven't read the book. It's only been out, a week now?
Yeah,
so
about
I
that.
really don't want to spoil it for anybody who's doesn't want to sit there and read it for 3 straight hours, or and take the time and enjoy it. If you like the Harry Potter series, I guarantee you'll like this.
So let me ask you this. Is it J.K. Rowling setting up the fact that she can bring back the original cast in a film if this were to be adaptive later on?
If she wanted to, I'm sure she could. There was actually, she spoke back in February about it being a movie, and she said that there was actually no chance of that happening. That it was indeed a play, and that there were no current plans to actually have it as a movie. But I can imagine that all the actors from the movies would probably be on board with it.
All on board.
They would all definitely be on board with it if it were to be a thing. But
I know that Daniel Radcliffe has stated that he would love to come back. Like, he's actually, but only if it was an older Harry Potter. Like, he doesn't want to do anything where he's, in his 20s or whatever. He actually wants to be, kind of an older version.
Because in the series, it takes place, it picks up exactly where the 7th book ends. It picks up right there. Because what it does at the end of the 7th book is they defeat Voldemort, the big villain guy. And then the final chapter of the book is 19 years later. And Harry has married Ron's little sister. Ron and Hermione married each other. And they've all got kids. And they're all sending their kids off to Hogwarts.
Hashtag spoiler alert.
Well, come on now. Again, the book's been out. The last book has been out for a decade. If you hadn't read them, then you're behind on the times.
It did happen to me, though, when I did the 30-year-old spoiler alert for, Transformers.
Legit. That's true.
Legit.
That's true. Fair enough.
So is there anything else or anything about this Harry Potter movie script that you want to get out to anybody else, especially people who haven't had a chance or opportunity to read it yet?
No, not particularly. Again, I don't want to spoil anything. Am I right?
It's real hard to say much because everything just it'll spoil everything. I can't say anything else.
Is everybody's kids part of the storyline, or is it just certain key characters that have kids that are notable in the storyline?
Define everybody.
Well, this major cast of students that are from, the Harry Potter books and stuff like that. They talk about their kids at the end of the book. They kind of, or in the movie, they also show people, them all older and all having kids. So it's do we know if if there's other characters their kids are part of that storyline, or is it just the three couples?
For the most part, it centers around just the 2 boys and 1 third character that I'm not going to mention.
Yeah, because that'll just flip your world upside down and spoil it all for you.
But,
still on the subject of Harry Potter, we've got some awesome movies. I don't know if you guys are excited about these movies. I know Chris isn't. But the first of the trilogy of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is coming out in November, and I'm stoked.
No, that's I would be stoked to go see that movie. That sounds like a movie that to be quite honest, my 8-year-old is starting to get into Harry Potter. It's right at that age where reading the books is kind of where he's at. And so go see Fantastical Beasts, I think, is going to be a movie that he'll want to go see just because it'll allow him to have that exploration of, fantasy and such. So I'm actually kind of excited more through his eyes than my eyes, to be quite honest.
It's really interesting that they're doing this because this wasn't something that was really explored. Matter of fact, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is actually a book. It's a textbook that Harry has in the series. And, obviously he takes it to Care of Magical Creatures and something. It's a weird long class name or something or another. But it's really interesting that they're turning this into a book or into a movie somehow. I'm not quite sure how well this is going to work, and because there's really nothing to go on other than the fact that there's creatures in the book, and it's written by a guy named Newt Scamander, which is what the movie is centering around is him, or the trilogy is centering around is his story in 1920s New York as a wizard. Other than that, we really don't know too much else. I mean, there's been quite a few trailers at this point.
Yeah, the actor that they have playing Newt is he's an amazing actor. I was really hyped to see him playing the role that he's playing. They really, because of the fact of how small the book is, that when J.K. Rowling released it as like a trilogy of books, she had 3 different books that came out, and the fact that they're making a trilogy out of this one textbook, that basically just gives the writers the ability to say, hey, you got this pre-existing universe, don't screw it up, but here's your 3 movies, create them out of this content. And so, I mean,
does she have any say so in the movies?
Oh yeah,
she wrote them.
She's on stage. Yeah.
So this is perfect because this reminds me a lot of Star Wars, where like because of Star Wars, like we don't know Rogue Squadron except for they're called Rogue Squadron. Like the whole title of this whole movie is based upon what somebody thinks and how it connects to the other world. So that's exactly what to me is what's going on here, and I'm an outsider looking in. It sounds like she had a world that had a little bit of text to it, and they're creating it and trying to wrap that around in order to make it fit into the world of Harry Potter. Which is, if that's the case, she's expanding the world, and she knows that series is ended, and in order to make money, in order to make this world continue, she has to look in other avenues. All right. So we're going to talk about a couple of Anthony Hopkins adventures, which I think is really, really cool. For one, super pumped, seeing screenshots of Anthony Hopkins in Thor Ragnarok dressed as a homeless hobo. How about that? I'm pretty pumped about it because, there was thoughts originally that Loki was Odin in this movie because that's who Anthony Hopkins is playing. He's playing Odin. But when you see Loki now in screenshots next to a homeless hobo, you imagine they're not the same person at this point. So what kind of impact do you think that Anthony Hopkins is going to have in Thor?
Well, it could still be Loki. I mean, he's the trickster god. I mean, he can make clones of himself. He's projected his own self-image before in other movies.
True. I still think because of the fact that they're going off the story, if they're going off the lore of Ragnarok, Odin has a big part in that. And what even more so is that depending on how much they go off of actual lore Ragnarok, we will see Odin being killed by Fenrir, the son of Loki, which is a giant wolf.
It's kind of exciting. And actually, I saw a tweet. I was talking to you guys earlier about it. Watching Tom and watching Chris have pictures of themselves when Thor originally came out, and when you look at the Twitter picture of the then and now that they took, it looks like a bunch of kids with a bunch of seasoned veterans. It's really weird. I mean, just looking at Chris Hemsworth's face, he's got blonde locks, not like the dark / the blonde locks, it's straight blonde hair. His face is so much thinner and it's not, because I don't know if you remember the original Thor, he was not as chiseled as he is now. The original Thor was not quite as chiseled as he is at this point. So it's really interesting to see the changes that Thor has made in that Marvel universe.
Well, one, he did the first Thor. He had short hair, so he had to wear a wig, and part of his contract was he was supposed to grow out his hair, and so that's why when other movies and stuff, he's had longer hair for the most part.
Now, we talked about Anthony Hopkins being in Thor Ragnarok, but he's also in literally my most anticipated HBO series now that's going to be coming out. And I'm a fan of Ballers. I'm a fan of Game of Thrones. I've been watching Vice Principals, which I think is really, really cool. But have you seen the preview of Westworld?
Oh, hell yeah.
No.
It looks amazing.
I honestly haven't seen it.
It is ridiculous. It's based on a 1973 movie, which is one of those cheesy 70 flicks that nobody gives a rat's rear end about. And this show has been just wrapped around with Mama's Arms by HBO to the point of what we talked about, $58 million, I think.
Yeah,
they've spent on it.
Your first season budget was $58
First season budget. We're talking Anthony Hopkins, We're talking adding a lot of like major Marissa Tomei, I believe, is in this show. Ed Harris is in this show. So like there's a lot of, I mean, major players that have played between the 90s and the early 2000s that people would know. And it's based upon a series where you have a gentleman that's creating robots and allows people who have exorbitant amounts of money to walk into a theme park. In the 70s movie, in this movie, we're unsure of that, if it's actually a theme park, but it's into the Wild Wild West, in which they can have adventures of, women and gunfights and all crazy stuff. And the humans in this are creating robots that are human-like, but not quite human. And then how those adventures can turn awry when the robots decide, you know what, I don't really want to play by the rules any longer. So HBO, what they did is they created the series, and it was supposed to come out in 2015, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh crap, this doesn't look that great. So then they revamped it for 2016. Oh crap, this doesn't look that great. They revamped it to the point where they have a new director. They reshot an entire series. And it really was to a point where it wasn't going to come out this year, and they were going to bump it to 2017. And then they put the brakes on. They were like, you know what? I think we have something that's substantial for a first season. And everybody knows in a first season when you watch a series, and I've watched Walking Dead, Seinfeld, The Office. How crappy is the first season? The first season's like, ooh, was that really the first season? Because I have to fight through the first 4 or 5 episodes just to be interested in this. Have you guys experienced that watching other series where you're like, I don't even know if this is interesting. Why are other people watching this?
Yeah, Shield gave me that vibe. Like I hate to bash on it, but Shield, like I just couldn't get into that.
I loved the first season of Shield. I just couldn't get much past the second one.
Yeah.
See, I love the first season of Walking Dead, but I can go back and when I watch it, you can see how the cast has grown and how the actors have all learned to kind of, when you watch it, the first season, it feels more like you're watching a movie and, the actors aren't together as long as they are. Now, when you watch it, now it feels like they're actually in that apocalypse and stuff. So it feels a lot more depth. So when you go back and watch the other episodes, it does kind of have that factor of like, oh, well, it's so much funner to watch these ones. But, the only thing that I got right now that I'm watching is I gave the Jean-Claude Van Johnson promo a watch, and that had my skin crawling.
In a good way or a bad way?
Bad way. The only thing they did is they throw a young naked chick on the front one scene, and that's about what they like, oh, okay, now watch this. And he has some parts of being funny, but I was looking at my phone through most of it, the 30 minutes of it. But there's one other one that was on there as well, which The Tick. I think a couple of us had saw that one, and that's spot on. Like that one is gonna be good. Like the special effects and everything are amazing on it. Did any of you get a chance to watch that?
I haven't watched them yet. I remember watching the cartoon show though when I was a kid.
Yeah.
This one's got blood and stuff in it. Like it's more like the real deal with it, and it's so well done. Like I was like, okay, this is it. I can get behind this. So I'll definitely be watching that.
With this Westworld, they've taken it kind of seriously. Like, I mean, I know that after reading a couple of things about it, I was a little sketched out about the fact to revamp it, had to redo an entire series, first season. But they ended up getting Christopher Nolan's brother. He was a showrunner for Person of Interest, and then he's also helped write on The Dark Knight and Interstellar. So they really wanted to try to beef up the script. They wanted to beef up the characters by getting some really named actors, which, like we just talked about, with $58 million between the set and the actors themselves. So this is kind of how Game of Thrones had started too. Game of Thrones really was in the crapper to start because they were in a lot of trouble with a book by a guy that nobody really knew a lot about besides a cult following about dragons, and they were trying to figure out how are we going to make this something that other people are going to be interested in, and they were able to turn that into magic. So the hope is that they're going to be able to do that with Westworld and do the same thing that they did with Game of Thrones, which at this point HBO has earned my trust in being able to do that and accomplish that. Some of the series that they have out, like we were talking about, are just so fantastic with set pieces that HBO is not your average television series. It's HBO, and that's why, because they're able to create these set pieces.
Do you think that we're going to see anything like any Easter eggs to Yul Brynner in it?
I would hope so, because we were talking about Michael Crichton was the director of the original movie in '73, and so he's got a lot of stuff underneath his belt. So they've got to give some nods. They have to. Like it would be a shame if they didn't. If they don't, like I guess I could understand, but the way they give nods in Game of Thrones to a lot of stuff that happens, I would assume that they would take the same care with this series, especially if they hope for it to continue on for an extended period of time. And we're talking about shows and have connections, and we were just talking about the Rogue One. Damien, you have stuff you want to talk about Star Wars.
Yeah, so first off, I have to apologize. My geek flag will be at half-mast.
That's what she said.
So I missed a key name of a character. So Mads Mikkelsen is not in heavy makeup to make himself look Asian in the film. That was actually a different character from a different film that he was in, that the picture showed up for the search. In fact, no one has seen his character yet. There's good reason for this. So his name is Galen. We've been seeing that Star Wars has been going around and they are pulling characters in from the expanded universe that people loved and bringing in. Well, Galen is the name of Starkiller, which was in Star Wars The Force Unleashed. That was Starkiller's real name, was Galen. This is huge.
And Starkiller was also the last name of originally Luke Skywalker, right?
Yeah,
Luke Starkiller.
Yeah, and then they put the nod. They gave the nod to that name in the last film. It was the Starkiller base. Well, here's the thing: is you don't put Mads into a character that's not going to be epic. Okay, you either make him be an epic badass villain, or you make him just be somebody who kicks ass all around. If he's playing this character and he's playing Vader's apprentice, that makes more sense, because we keep hearing how Vader is supposed to be so brutal in this. He's having to defend himself against Galen. Galen is a stronger Force user than Vader. So depending on how far they go with this, there's a lot of different things that they could do, because one thing is that he's the father of Jyn Erso. And we were all trying to figure out last time, we have this bet going. During that bet, Chris came up with an idea and he cut it off. He stopped. He's like, I don't want to be in on this. Like, well, what we thought was harebrained theory is
not so harebrained.
It's probably actually true. So the reason why we're probably going to really feel for the main character, the main lead, female lead in Rogue One, is because if Galen is playing who he is and she's Galen's daughter, she is going to be at the minimum Force sensitive, if not very, very strong with the Force, which would lead her to being also, she's the same age as Luke Skywalker. So
that's awesome.
She gets trained by Luke. We could be very well going to see a movie about Rey's mother, which in fact, if this is true, Brandon and I now owe a bottle of bourbon to Chris.
I'll tell you what, I'm more excited about I'm excited about the bourbon, but I'm not gonna lie, but I'm excited about the fact, it is, but I'm excited about the fact that Vader's purpose in this movie is just not as a cameo, because if he's in this movie because he has an apprentice, that means he has a purpose in the film and not just a showcase, and that makes me excited about Rogue One for that. Because it's not just 2-minute screen time by Vader and, thanks for playing. It's actually because he moves the plot along and then can eventually have another character that can spurn another movie, that's perfect. Because again, Marvel stuff. If Marvel, that's the kind of stuff Marvel does. If that's the kind of stuff that Star Wars is going to do, that's how you extend generations. That's how people care about characters. And that's how you build an empire, which I think is fantastic.
No pun intended with the empire.
I think it was.
Maybe a little bit. I'm empire sensitive too. Speaking of another empire, we've been talking nonstop about Suicide Squad, specifically about Harley Quinn and Joker, but we've had theories upon theories about the Joker. Damien, you have another theory that kind of goes with something you were talking about a little bit last week.
Yeah. So in the New 52 storyline, Joker's face basically takes on a whole role of a character. Like I posted up an article that kind of goes over that you guys were able to look over, but so in the first main storyline, he's winds up in Arkham, and he's sitting in Arkham. It's Detective Comics #1 of the News 52, where they decided a lot of characters they just change up the outfit and everything. Well, with Joker winds up in the asylum with his doctor buddy, the doll maker. Well, he's a master surgeon who enjoys cutting up people. So Joker talks the doll maker into skinning his face. And the Joker then escapes out of Arkham and leaves the face hanging. Well, this face winds up being put in basically on cryogenic freeze. Now the Joker's just away, right? So they have this shadowy figure that's the Joker without a face that does a bunch of stuff behind the scenes in the New 52 comics. And then the entire time they go back to this face that's on ice in the police department. It's basically it's taken as evidence. During this time, the Joker eventually comes back and takes his face back and wears it as a mask. But before that goes on, Harley Quinn actually had broken in from Suicide Squad, which this could totally lead into a Suicide Squad 2, or into Batman or anything else. She breaks in, steals the face, has Deadshot tied up, uses a belt and puts it on Deadshot's face, and then kisses him. At this point, Deadshot shoots her. I mean, we know that they had in Suicide Squad they had a chemistry. They had kind of this. A lot of people said there was a love triangle. There really wasn't that, but there was something there. I think Deadshot wanted to tap it, but I'm just saying.
I mean,
I think
let's
he
be
has
honest.
some swagger.
Wanted to happen.
Yeah. So I mean, but
just when I was looking at this, this sets up perfectly for Arkham Asylum. Because Deadshot can be in Arkham Asylum. If they're trying to get rid of Leto, they can go with the face. And Harley Quinn is going to be in Arkham. So you can put the Joker face on Deadshot, or you can have a storyline that deals with the Joker face and come up with a new Joker, because obviously from any quote that you've seen over the last month, he does not want to be the Joker at any point again. And this allows them to move into the next movie or into the next set of movies and completely change the storyline, which, to your credit, it looks like that's kind of maybe where they're heading.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different stuff that they did with it, because eventually, and right now, in the storyline, Joker's still out there, but he's faceless right now. Because at one point, his face actually is rotting, and part of it gets ate by another character, but it at the moment right now, the Joker's daughter has her father's face grafted to her own flesh by the doll maker, and that's where right now in the storyline, that is where the face is. So I mean, you could even come in, and by doing that, you could essentially have a female Joker. And we know
it says that she injects into her veins a little bit of the psychoness from his blood. That's weird.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how I feel about that.
That's weird. Beaten, eaten, rotten, drenched, and sewn to an obsessive teenager's face. That's creepy. Like, the fact that they were able to come up with this comic in 2011 says, where we are now, now it'd be that's normal. Even 7 years ago, that's not so normal.
Yeah. When I was looking that stuff up, I'm like, okay, this if they need to, this gives them so much stuff that they could go with, but at the same time, it's so damn twisted.
Yeah, and again, if they're trying to break off into different worlds of Batman, they have to kind of pull from different areas, because that's the only way that they're going to be able to kind of make this world extend at some point, because Justice League is great, but you're going to have to come up with different reasons why Batman fights this and fights that. And so having these little side stories allows you to have even this whole thing could be a complete story for the Joker. And you can run a whole entire movie with him and Harley Quinn on why they're fighting and trying to find a face and all this other stuff. It sounds kind of creepy as a movie.
I feel like that would probably be a Harley Quinn standalone movie before it would be
Yeah.
There's already talks of a Harley Quinn standalone anyway in there. That's probably what it ended up being if they take this route. I see it happening.
If they're smart, they nail down Margot Robbie for this really quickly because they got to strike while the iron's hot. People like her. People like her as Harley Quinn, and she has a short window of when she can be Harley Quinn. So they need to kind of do it now.
Right. Exactly.
Now we're gonna talk about a Squirrel Girl. I say that with a question mark because I totally don't even know what's going on.
All right, so Squirrel Girl is a character in the Marvel universe. So we've talked about some characters who were like obscure and just kind of they show up. Well, she's kind of like a Howard the Duck character. She just shows up, and her powers, she controls squirrels, so she can talk to squirrels. Well,
greatest superpower ever.
This is like literally chipmunks go to Vegas, except you want a Squirrel Girl to talk to the chipmunks. Can Alvin and Simon be in this? That'd be awesome.
Okay, now when I was in the military, I worked night shift 90% of the time, and the base I was stationed at had a bazillion freaking squirrels. I would have given anything to be able to squirrels and tell them to screw off. Just tell them get the out.
The other thing is, like, I want to be Anna Kendrick and have the ability to just be like, hey, I think it'd be cool if I was Green Arrow. And then all of a sudden, the Russo brothers were like, hey, by the way, I think she'd be really cool as Green Arrow. And then just make me, you would just make me Green Arrow. Like, you just shoot a tweet out and you're like, hey, I think it'd be cool if I did this. Hey, Mike, hey, I think it'd be cool if I was in Sea of Thieves. I want to be just a person that's in Sea of Thieves. And then Rare would be like, oh yeah,
let's make
Mike
it happen.
A person in Sea of Thieves. Let's make it
We'll
happen.
throw you in there as
and
an
like
Easter
that,
egg.
like how is this how real life works? Because like that is just bananas.
I guess it works that way for people like them.
Apparently.
Yeah. So we know that the character will not be included in the Infinity Wars. That's already been ruled out because they said they have way too many characters to put in.
Listen, there's like 7,000 characters in Infinity Wars.
There's always room for someone who can control squirrels.
Make her like a friend of Ant-Man. Wouldn't it be cool? An Ant and like a Squirrel Girl. Like, I don't know.
Well, see, they could pull her in. So right now where you see Squirrel Girl is in the newest Spider-Man series, which is versus the Sinister Six, and so she's one of the characters that's going to like some superhero school with Spider-Man, and he's collecting Spider-Mans from alternate universes and stuff, and so she just happens to be one of the characters in there. That could mean that maybe she will show up in a Marvel film, and that she will be used as a crossover character into another Spider-Man film that comes off at a distant, as like a sidekick character.
We were just talking about Spider-Man films, right? Like,
Yeah.
Mike, you told me about the and we were talking about Mary Jane being added to the film.
Yeah. She, they finally found actor Zendaya or
Zendaya.
something like that. Yeah, I know that she started out on Disney Channel, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
And they added Mary Jane.
Right.
So now we have Spider-Man. They're adding they added a character Jonah Yao. They added her recently to Spider-Man, which is now deemed Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah.
So like that's basically the name of the film.
Tony Stark / Iron Man is supposedly supposed to make appearances as well, from my understanding.
It is. Robert Downey Jr. is going to make an appearance. The other person is going to make an appearance. Actually, it's kind of cool. Michael Keaton is in this movie. Marissa Tomei is in this movie. So they're kind of throwing down a little bit the gauntlet of like this is your Spider-Man story. This is the one. Like forget
this is
about
the one
Tobey
everybody's
Maguire.
been waiting for that ties him into everything that's been happening in the rest of the Marvel
Pretty
universe.
much.
Yeah.
July, like Homecoming, July 7th, 2017. So like this is not that far off. We're talking a year. So this thing has to be, done, written, wrote up, and cut, and be ready by. That's a really short time frame.
Yeah.
Like it kind of scares me a little bit.
It does.
July
it is
scares me.
pretty
a
Well,
little
they've
bit.
been filming already for quite a while. They're just when they announced the other characters, it's because their scenes haven't been filmed yet. So,
And they said the Shocker is going to be in this movie. The Shocker, like that's kind of cool. Like go outside the box.
like the Shocker.
Yeah, that's what I was about to
the
say.
shot.
the
Well,
Shocker,
don't.
yeah.
They're throwing out the Shocker. But like I don't want to see a typical Spider-Man character. Like I don't show me the 50. Don't show me Venom. Don't show me Carnage. Don't stop showing me those guys. Go outside the box and show me somebody. Doc Ock. Don't we've already seen this stuff. If you want to start fresh, start with a character that maybe is obscure, but you can grow. You know what I mean? Like you can from the ground up.
I love to see
Squirrel
Vulture.
Girl's gonna be the villain.
Squirrel Girl?
Yeah, she's the villain.
No, come on.
No, honestly,
What's-
I'm really hoping for Vulture. If
Vulture,
they can
that
pull
would
it
be
off
actually
right,
really cool.
I mean, it's his start, and if you actually read it, some of the Spider-Man comics, and you pay attention to the video games that are on PlayStation back in the day, the first villain, one of his very first villains was Vulture. Before anyone else, it was Vulture. Mm-hmm. So they could, if they execute it correctly, I believe they really could go somewhere with it.
That'd be cool.
I think Shocker's a cool concept. I think it's somebody that Spider fans know, but isn't a mainstream bad guy, and so we're not dealing with we talked about Rhino. I think Vulture's actually a really cool character. Again, another obscure Spider-Man character. Anybody he can go against that we haven't seen in a film, because they're going to have to start from scratch. If you were to use Rhino, if you were to use Electro, if you were to use a bunch of people that they knew about, then it would be okay, well, we've already seen them on screen before, so this kind of adds a little bit to that.
Throw in
wasn't a
Morbius
picture-
eventually.
Wasn't a picture released with Vulture in it for this movie?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd be down for Carnage. If we can go to Carnage, I would be all in.
only if Jim
So-
Carrey takes the part.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that would be so that.
That one image.
that's-
I've only seen that one image of him.
Yeah, but that's almost the same thing that they did with for the longest time. If you are a collector of stuff, anything comic or toy related, you would go every month, or not every month, but when they would release, you'd go and pick up Wizard magazine. It would tell you the price of what your stuff is worth. If you opened up your Spawn Wetworks figure and he had a tattoo painted on a different spot, and he was worth $3,000 in the box, and you open him and he's now worth 10. But
Sad story.
Yeah.
Sounds like
story.
a personal experience right there.
Yes.
yeah, and I could have
You're
bought.
talking about a friend?
No, I'm talking about myself, and I could have bought 3 of the damn things.
Dang.
Yeah, but you'd get those, and you would look, and they would have a series of who we want to play characters. And for Professor X, it was always Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart?
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart, yeah.
But who they wanted to play Wolverine back in the day was Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood is Wolverine?
That's who they wanted to play originally. Now I'm talking back when I was in middle school and stuff. But even still, he was old then. But oh god, oh jeez, yeah, you were a little kid. You were.
Oh man,
This is before you were born, Mike.
That's
There
what
were
life was like in the
movies
70s,
made,
Mike.
and they were in color, believe it or not.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
man.
like 13, 12 or 13.
I don't know.
When-
I
when-
just don't. I don't feel like Clint Eastwood would have been right for that part.
Not at all.
In all honesty, all I see is
Get off my
Clint
lawn.
Eastwood as
Get off my lawn.
exactly as Wolverine, just saying a bunch of dirty Harry quotes throughout the entire series. I just feel like it wouldn't have worked if it hadn't have been Hugh Jackman. But then again, I say that because the only person I've seen in the role is Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, they had the final cutscenes for Wolverine. So Hugh Jackman donned the claws for the last time, and I guess it was pretty emotional from what I gather. Stuff that he said, he's been that character for a better part of 10 years. I mean,
Been a long time.
yeah, the next person who dons Wolverine, it'll be the first time in that Marvel universe where we're going to have to get readjusted to somebody being somebody else. It's going to be kind of like when we lose Robert Downey as Iron Man. We're all a generation from now, nobody's going to know the difference, but we'll know the difference because
We grew up
that's
with
who
it.
we grew up with. So it'll be different. And so the character that he played as Wolverine is now who I assimilate as Wolverine.
Yep.
So it's going to be tough for me going into whatever film he happens to be in next, or that character, next, by somebody else playing him, because to me it's going to be well, that's not Hugh Jackman.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
Did you guys know that Hugh Jackman was not cast until 3 weeks into filming started already on that first movie?
No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so they'd already been filming for 3 weeks before he actually got the part.
That's crazy.
I just talked to you guys about talking about screen actors or actors going in for like these testings. We just talked about John Krasinski. Like, first of all, love him on The Office. Like, huge fan of The Office. But he screen tested for Iron Man,
Not Iron Man.
Not Iron Man. Captain America. Sorry, Captain America. I apologize. Captain America. And so he goes in and does the screen test, and he's like on set, like has the full blown Captain America outfit on, whatever. And so they're in between takes, and so he takes the shirt off, and because he's like super hot, and like he looks over, and Chris Hemsworth walks by, like this. We're talking to like original, like, and he walks past, and he's like, "Hey, dude, what's up?" And he looks down, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm not even close to what they're looking for at this point," because like Hemsworth is just like all like yoked, and he was like, he said he was on, he was like, "Good day, mate," and walked right off set. It was like that was the end of it. I didn't even bother with the rest. Which was super awesome. He's in a new thing like he's doing, which is kind of cool. But like the fact that like you hear about people that did screen tests like beforehand for certain movies, I think is always really a behind the scenes thing that's pretty awesome. Speaking of Marvel, I know that Mike wants to talk about somebody we've been talking about for a couple episodes now, because it seems like every time and every week that we have this podcast that there's something else leaking about Deadpool.
It is. It just seems that way, doesn't it?
It does.
Last week we talked about the possibility of Kyle Chandler and Mackenzie Davis playing their roles of Cable and Domino, respectively, in Deadpool 2. Well, recently an article popped up showing some fan art of the two actors in those roles, and apparently Cable's was pretty crappy. Like, Chandler did not look good as Cable. From like, and personally, having looked at it,
he's got a comb over.
He does. It doesn't work. But apparently, Mackenzie Davis's Domino was just. Come on,
it was no. The rendition that the artist did of Domino just was like, you're like, oh hell yeah, I can see they even have Deadpool popping up behind like he does in the comics and everything, because Deadpool, if you know anything about Deadpool, he's all about boobs and ass. I mean, assets.
I'm touching myself tonight.
he's all about that, and so he always is popping up behind characters. Well, in the art, they actually have him popping up with the fingers right behind Mackenzie Davis's Domino, and so
phrasing.
Yeah, phrasing, yes. I know it's language. You got to do it right. You got to be if you're going to be
yeah.
Captain
If you're going
America,
to talk
you
about
language.
Deadpool, you can just drop
Language.
Yeah,
and then we're going to do the Marvel language.
Now,
joke.
children.
I think it's hard once you see Liam Neeson, again, badass, looking like Cable in other fan art, and then you look at this and you're like, dude, he's not Liam Neeson. So the problem is Liam Neeson is old. So like as far as the facial features might be kind of similar to Cable, but when you get into the physique and what it's going to be required for the film, everybody that's pushing for this, I feel like, is going to be disappointed if they were to see him in that role.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is the fan art came from the same person that did that fan art of Liam Neeson as Cable, and so part of it feels like they were like, let's
Biased
make let's make the actor I want look awesome, and let's make the other one look like he's the son of Donald Trump. I mean, that's how bad the hair looks. I'm just saying.
Dang. So, are we gonna get into some games?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Where are we going with games tonight?
We're gonna talk about PS Plus to start out. If you have been on another planet, it's been all over Twitter that PS Plus is going to be going up $10. So we're going up to $59.99 for your PS Plus subscription.
But wait, are you guys going to get anything extra for that $10?
We're going to get the same that you get on Xbox for the same price, just with nothing extra. Here, wow. I'll tell you what my theory is about the increase and why the $10 is coming into play. I think the $10 is coming into play because you're going to start to see VR games as part of the PS Plus subscription, and so to make up for that increase, and I know $10 is a lot, That's why the increase is happening.
I feel like that would be worth it, to be honest.
I think so, because the games that they're releasing right now, a lot are PS Vita games and or PS3 games. Well, the rivers run dry. Like, we've given away the amount of games that we have on the service. This isn't Nintendo. Like, we don't have a backlog so long that it could take 10 years for us to get through it. So they're out of games that are like worth a damn. Aside from, like, they would literally have to start giving out like The Last of Us, original Uncharted, which they already have a trilogy of. The Last of Us, which they're still selling for $12.95 a pop. So they can't do that. So in order to make up for that, maybe we start giving out a few more PS4 games. Maybe we start giving out a few more. We give out PSVR games, like experiences. So you're giving out a experience. One, here's two, here's one. So one a month or whatever. And that's the reason for the extra $10. If you're like me and like everybody else who gets their Xbox Live and their PS Plus, you're getting it from CD Key or some other place where you're spending $39.95. You're not paying the full price for this. So everybody and the best part about it is when you see them online right now, save $10. The save $10 is actually getting it at the regular cost right now. People who are trying to cheat the system for the last month are like, oh, save $10 and you get it for $49.99. Dude, that's the regular price currently. You're not saving anything. Like, you're basically getting it at cost. It cracks me up. So if you're a hunter, I guarantee you can find it for cheap. I'm already a year in advance on my PS Plus. I'm probably going to buy another one to be 2 years in advance, just because I don't really feel like paying the $59.95. But if you are a PS owner, please be aware that this is occurring. You should have received an email, I know I did, that forewarned me about the extra $9.95 that's coming. But just be cautious, because if you don't know that that's happening, it will underneath your nose, and then you'll be down $10. Damien?
Just so you guys all remember, PlayStation users, we're all gamers. We all love you. But Scorpio is going to be coming out, so you might not want to just be purchasing that many years in advance yet, because we all know that you're going to want to come back over to Xbox with Scorpio.
Oh, man. You're going to be alienating people, dude. Come on. You can't do that to us.
I love all games. I love all games. I mean,
yeah.
I want the NX. I want a PlayStation. I just don't have it yet. I'll eventually get it. I just
I will champion for the PS4. I was an original 360 owner, like, from the beginning, and so, like, the fact that I had switched over to PS, and I honestly, it's because of travel time and going to hotels, and the fact that it packed pretty easily as opposed to the Xbox One. I've really kind of grown to be a PS fan. That's whether that's my main gameplay or not. Like, that's who I mean, I have a lot of friends who are on the Xbox platform because that's where I've been for so long. But I appreciate what PS offers, and a lot of their exclusives are really, really amazing. Ratchet and Clank, Uncharted, The Last of Us. They have a backlog
Crash.
of really, really great Crash is on there. There's a lot of really, really good PlayStation games. So for us as a whole, even as a podcast, we'll definitely be I know that a lot of us are Xbox owners, but we will not forget the PS because I don't think I could let it go. Like, I don't think I can let it go. In fact, I'm probably going to get Neo, even begrudgingly. I'm still going to get Neo just because I want to be part of it. Speaking of old systems and old games, actually, you know what? Let's talk about the PS Slim. The PS Slim has announcements that just came out. There's going to be two separate entities as far as the PlayStation. There's going to be the PS Slim and now the PS Neo. The leaks came out about the PS Slim. Like, I'm telling you what, there's going to be leaks about the PS Neo within the next 2 days, because this thing is not going to hit the September date before everybody knows what the specs are. The PS Slim is basically going to be your version of the Xbox S. I think it's going to have minor upgrades, minor spec upgrades, where you can do a few more things. Brandon, you were talking about your theories on the PlayStation Slim versus the Neo, because I know we were having a conversation about it. What do you think is going to be in that Slim?
Before, we didn't know about the Slim when we recorded last week. We just thought that the next one coming out was going to be the Neo, period. But now that we know that we have the PlayStation Slim and the Neo as two separate entities or units, two separate units, I think they'll be able to upgrade the Neo in time, because I don't think the Neo is going to come out until next year. The Slim is going to be, I think, in my opinion, VR ready to some extent, minorly, so that way it can help support the PlayStation VR that's coming out.
Yeah, this is where you and I had the conversation. We were kind of like on either ends because I still feel like the Neo's going to come out by the October date. Like I think that it's still a thing. I think it's the reason why they're pushing for VR. I know you feel like that this gives them a bit of a buffer to push out the Neo a little bit farther, maybe catch up with some Scorpio specs, and use the Slim as a minor enough of an upgrade that it's not going to run the VR wonky. And it'll be able to accomplish what they're looking to accomplish, at least for the short term, and then be able to extend it with the Neo in the long term. So we'll see. We'll see what happens on September 7th. I know that a lot of people are anticipating this. I need to see. I'm on a wait-and-see basis. I mean, I say that I'm going to jump into the Neo, but I need to have a reason besides 4K. So you've got to give me upgrade in specs, or I'm not interested at all, because I don't have a 4K television right now. I don't have a 4K monitor right now. And currently, I don't have a reason to purchase one. My 1080 works just fine, and if all I'm getting is faster load times on my PS4, then I'll just keep the PS4 and I'll wait until the Scorpio comes out, which at that point will give me enough of a reason to try to upgrade to a 4K HDR monitor, television, whatever it happens to be. What kind of situation are you guys in? Are you looking at a Slim? Are you looking at a Neo? Are you on a wait and see basis? Where are you guys at?
I'm looking at it all, but I'm looking. My wallet's saying no, but my body's saying yes. I want it.
Yeah, I think that pretty much summed it up.
That sounds like a bump and grind song. Like it literally, I was like, I'm thinking of bump and grind. My body's telling me no.
My wallet's telling me no,
but my wallet's telling me yes.
I'm not looking at the Slim at all. I might be interested in the Neo, just depending on what is going to happen with it and what it's going to have in it.
You can guarantee, though, that at least one of us will be upgraded into some version of one of the things, whether that be through the podcast or through the stream with Project Fenrir. So we'll have availability and be able to speak to whatever's coming out new as it comes out. We have I'm doing the VR, so we'll have PSVR of some sort, and I guess my hands will be tied if it comes to the PS Slim or to the Neo if it's upgrading the PSVR, because at this point, like, I can't run it on the PS4 that I currently have, so we'll see how that goes. I was watching footage that like almost caused me not to start this podcast at all. Like, I was so entranced in a video that was sent over to me of watching GoldenEye with the XBLA footage that it, like, Brandon sent me over the ability to download and be able to play the multiplayer at this point. So what are you guys' thoughts on watching GoldenEye and kind of reminiscing about your days with it?
I remember hearing rumors about this stuff back when I had my 360 and was super excited about it, and then it just never came out. And and it was something I really wanted to play. And then Mike's sitting there talking. It's like, hey guys, before we got ready for the show, he's like, did you guys see that footage that, of GoldenEye unreleased? And I'm like, what? He puts it on, and I'm sitting there like my mouth's hanging open. I'm just like, you hear the sounds. It's the same sounds. You hear them, and you want to be playing the controller. You want to hold that, like, it had me wanting to go grab my 64 and plug it in and put on GoldenEye and try to figure out the controls and that and just go back to playing it again. I love that damn game so much. Sorry, my hands are going like this all over the place.
We were watching it, and I'm getting all excited. I'm like, look, he's gonna go to his left. Look, the wave comes, and then he spins to the right, and the wave comes again. Then he spins back to the left, and the wave comes again. Like, my brain went right back to being with a bunch of buddies and doing a LAN party at my fraternity house. And I'm like, GoldenEye was the jam. Like,
right.
I love that game.
And it's probably no coincidence that this footage got dropped, like, not even a week after the port of the multiplayer to PC.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh yeah,
I mean, it's not. There's no coincidence there. And
man, I'd love to play the single player, but gosh, that multiplayer is just like
killer.
We just talked about it today. We were like, okay, so are you off tomorrow? Are you off tomorrow? Do you think we could all hop on real fast?
Right. I wish I had a PC that was good enough to put it on. To be honest,
it will be. Yours is.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll be able to run it.
I've seen your PC. You can put it on yours.
Yeah,
It'll be all right.
All right. Well,
So we're gonna run some 4-player. We're gonna run some Golden Gun tomorrow, and
we should stream it. We should
We
stream it.
should. It'll be game on. I'm telling you that right now. I'm so excited about this. And the thing of it is like after playing Destiny, like you realize how slowed down this is. Like because like Destiny.
God, yeah.
And this is. I mean Halo's fast. Destiny's slower than that. This is like literally like snail crawling slow compared to that. So like your reaction time is like, look, he's over there, and then you do the spin. Like I can't even imagine how this is gonna be. But it just because I know where the stickies go and I know how to like, you know what I mean? Like your brain just automatically goes back.
Oh yeah,
to
like the
maps.
hidden doors. The hidden doors. You
Oh,
walk up to
yeah.
the wall, you open it up, you have the sticky on the other side. They walk in, they think they're gonna shoot you, and he's like, boom.
Boom, and then just sets it off. So it's those kind of good times. And I think the best part about this is the fact that it doesn't have to be a LAN party. You can do this online now,
right.
which is so much different. Because like for me, like I wish I still had contact with some of my buddies from college because it would be that like we would all be getting together just like, hey, let's just play for like a half an hour, 45 minutes and
It's
bullshit.
never
and just like
it's never half an hour, never 45 minutes. I would play
no.
with my buddies, and then we would. I mean, luckily we played in a basement, but you look at he had like one little window, and we'd be playing down there, and then we would look at the window and be like, oh, I'm getting tired. We look, and it's like in the afternoon. Like you just lose all time. You start playing GoldenEye, you're like, it's just. I mean, and my dad played this. Even my grandpa played this with us. Like he'd get down and pick up a controller. We went as far as my dad developed and almost had it. We had a patent pending on it, on this screen divider that you could set up and it could size up to your TV, and it had a sizable for different sizes TV. It would have a slider that would open up, and you could cut your TV in half, so you could have player 1 and player 3 on the left, player 2 and player 4 on the right, and team up, and you wouldn't see each other's screen. And so that's how serious it was in our house. Like it was
crazy.
nuts.
I don't know if you guys know it or not, but the website that released the 360 Xbox Live Arcade footage is actually responsible for a lot of other rare leaks as well. Okay, I guess you don't want to call them leaks. He's gotten permission to get them. But he was also the person that released footage for Dinosaur Planet, which was the game that eventually became Star Fox Adventures for the Wii, I believe it was.
So do you think Rare comes out with a remastered version of GoldenEye?
Do I think they will?
Yeah.
That's a tough question.
I mean, that would sell some copies. I mean, we're talking about Red Dead Redemption selling copies.
Oh,
if you
God.
could get your hands on a remastered version of GoldenEye, you would have everybody in their 30s literally running. I mean, I know, Mike, I know you're in your 20s. But
Oh, dude, I'm right there with you, man.
We're
I'm
talking
right there
about
with you.
heyday. I'm talking about my heyday. I would go running to go buy a remastered
I have
version of
these
this game
same
in
memories, my
seconds.
friend. Same memories.
Oh my
I
gosh.
hate to
Lion
say this,
parties.
but I would pay $50 for a remastered. And,
I
and
would.
I would
pay that
in
much.
seconds.
I would.
I wouldn't even think about it. I wouldn't even think about it. Like that, it would be like yes, what like, and then we would gather like, dude, can you imagine gathering all of the gaming community of people that we're friends with that played this game? Like we would all have everybody has memories of this game. Like it would be bananas. It would be fun for a really good time, and it would be like one of those mindless games that you could Twitch stream. People would not get like all angry because people are so. It literally is like riding a bike, so your fingers get all adjusted again. You're like, okay, this is just, and like you could just make it. It would be a lot of fun.
People would
be
get angry because everybody would try to choose odd job, and then Damien
No.
would just lose shit.
Well, you'd have to have private match with no odd job.
He's
No
about
odd
to
job.
do it. He's about to say it. I can see Mike doing it. He's getting ready.
Dang.
I'm not going to
Do
say
it.
it now just because you said something.
Do it.
I don't know.
So
But did you guys know, before we do continue, did you know that GoldenEye Xbox Live Arcade eventually became Perfect Dark Zero?
Perfect arc.
And
No,
if you
no,
don't know, Perfect Dark Zero was ultimately it was a rehashing of the original Perfect Dark.
Masterpiece.
Right.
Like the game is good. The game is really good.
It's downstairs. I have it.
What,
Perfect
the
Dark?
original
Oh,
Perfect
that's
Dark?
awesome.
Or
I have the original Perfect Dark sitting right behind me in my drawer, and then I have Perfect Dark Zero down there in the drawer. I also have Rare Replay. So.
I was about to say, and then I'm sure you have Rare Replay as well. So
Dude, you're the master collector.
Oh, dude, I like I said, I have a crap ton of N64 games.
oh
behind me in
man,
the
I got a
drawer.
buddy, dude. I got a buddy that has a crap ton of old Super Nintendo. Like he goes to flea markets like every weekend to find old Super Nintendo games and original NES games as well.
So we're going to talk to a developer that's kind of had some positives and some negatives over the last couple of years about their gaming. A lot of the stuff that they do graphically is just fantastic. A lot of the issues have been with the gameplay and about how it plays inside of the game system. The developer I'm talking about is Ubisoft, and I know, Damien, you had a lot to say about this.
Yeah, so I pulled a little information from a website called Gaming Guide, and they talk about the upcoming Division DLC Survival. In that article, this is just a little excerpt from it. They go on to say, as the Division Underground DLC fails to impress players, Survival DLC is all set to arrive next month. The Division Survival aims to challenge players under strict weather conditions. In the Survival DLC, players are forced to complete missions through an unfavorable weather and surroundings. The strategic Homeland Division will face the reality of facing the harsh... This is really badly written that they did. Facing the harsh winter of Manhattan while struggling to make do with the remaining resources. Other weather conditions are there's also no other details on how players can cope with the Survival DLC. So there's going to be they're kind of everybody's kind of grasping at straws right now for this new DLC. We had an idea, and if they come out with our idea, I hope that they come out with it, because if they do, that it will bring people back. Right now, if that's just what it is, I'm running and I'm having to fight in the dark zone through a blizzard. I'm gonna get excited and curse. That's bad juju. That's just not good. That's poop.
Is the reason why you're feeling this way? Is it because we're just not hearing anything from anybody from the Division currently, like at all? They've gone like literally radio silent.
Yeah, it's frustrating. So I was part of the I was a community team member for Rogue Agent Radio. I was up to my neck in the community with the stuff that was going on. Hamish was really out there and everything, and he's kind of gone quiet. There's been just back, and it's frustrating. But basically, my 2 cents is I still enjoy the Division, but it doesn't hold my attention captive like it did. I find I'm hoping that this new expansion comes out. It can find a way to recaptivate the audience, but there's no even reference in any of the stuff to the teaser trailer we saw. Like, we're not seeing any references to the Watch Collector. That had me going. We thought like, cool, like a Predator kind of character that's chasing you down and hunting you. Or what if that could be a player role to take over? There's no reference to that, and they're looking to take on Destiny: The Rise of Iron with an expansion. It's like Destiny: Rise of Iron expansion is like a full game basically, versus a Division, and unless they come out swinging, it's going to be rough. And it sucks because I love the game so much. I mean, Brandon, do you think, what would it take to get you to come back?
It would take a lot. When I stopped playing completely, I don't know when the last time I played the Division was. When the new expansion came out, the Underground DLC, I dove straight into it head first, played it for 3-4 days, and then I just quit. It was just way too repetitive over and over. It's kind of like just going into Destiny and just doing Vanguard strikes for hours upon hours. It's the exact same thing. It could be better for the Underground if they tweaked it. I mean, if you think about it, like Diablo 3 doing rifts. I mean, you get a buttload of loot and drops and everything. If it was more like that, I could see it actually bringing more people back into it, because I mean, even though rifts in Diablo 3 are mind-numbingly repetitive over and over again, they're still a lot of fun.
There's a shining light though here with what Ubisoft's been doing. They said in their timeline that they have before the Division and after the Division. So in some ways, it feels like the Division is the beta test for their new engine that they're working on. But my God, do they have some really kick-ass looking games coming out that the gameplay on them just looks fun. One of the things I want to talk about, because these are 3 games that are titled that are coming out in the 2016 fiscal year. So we got Watch Dogs 2, which I'm going to admit, I was not on board with this one. Now, Chris, I know you were, but originally I was not until I saw the multiplayer trailer for this. I'm all in, guns blazing. Chris, what is your take on Watch Dogs 2?
Yeah, Watch Dogs 2 looks a lot like 1. For me personally, like it 1 took a bashing. I actually really liked the game. I beat it. I spent a lot of quality time with Watch Dogs 1 to the point where I almost trophied everything in it. And Watch Dogs 2 looks like it's from what Watch Dogs 1 was and just kind of expounds upon it, adds in a lot of more mechanical pieces, a lot like when you saw the little rover that goes out, I thought that was kind of cool. We just watched a trailer earlier before we started the podcast on a multiplayer, which I thought was like kind of cool. The problem with Watch Dogs 1 was the fact that when you went into multiplayer, there was a huge issue. It became really difficult to interact with other players, or you could for a short period of time, but then it would break. So I'm hoping that what they can do with Watch Dogs 2 is cause that multiplayer or that constant interaction with people, like kind of how Destiny, if you meet people in a space, you can interact with what they're doing. I'm hoping they can carry that to Watch Dogs 2. To me, it looks like more of something that I want to play. Now, will I be interested to beat an entire game of Watch Dogs 2? I don't know, because 1 was great, but like maybe it was because I delved halfway into it at that point where I was invested. I don't know. We'll see. Sure.
So one of the other titles that's coming out, it's going to actually be released in December. And I made sure that you guys all saw the video on this just solely because of the Wilhelm scream and everything else they put into it. But it's a game called Steep. What did you guys think of that?
I have to admit, it brings back memories of a lot of old snowboarding / skiing games. Like I was a big 1080 fan from the N64 days. And then you've got the SSX series. So, and you know, it's so much more than that too, though. Because, you know, those were just snowboarding games. I want to say there might have been skiing in SSX.
I think there was. I can't remember. I'd have to go look. I actually have.
Yeah.
I think.
And I know one of them was released on Games with Gold recently in the past couple months or so. But I mean, dude, wingsuits. Come on now. Wind sailing. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, and it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, that's the thing is, and that's all on the same engine that the Division was built on. So we got it. We got to thank the Division for what they did. They gave us an engine that is creating some just beautiful titles. I mean, because they're talking about the multiplayer in Steep, how you'll see someone, and then it's taking kind of a stroll from like The Crew, okay, which is another Ubisoft game, and you can randomly interact with people, and because The Crew is an MMO racing game, and in this one you bump into someone, and it's just they do that where it's proximity. And now you're in an event. Now you're racing. You're cutting through cutouts and rocks and everything. And if the person misses it and they hit, you hear their screams. And they got GoPro Cam, man. They got GoPro Cam. You can go in and create and edit your videos, and they have it linked up so that you can take that directly from the game and send those cuts to your social media outlets. So that's going to be pretty sweet.
I'm pretty stoked for that. Yeah, man. It looks incredible. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We should all get together.
I'll definitely. I'm all about it, man.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing some wingsuit racing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, from what we know, there's four different types. I guess transportation is the best way to put it. I really don't know any other way to put it. We could all each be one of the different modes and have a race down a big mountain or something.
That could be interesting. All I'm seeing is me on skis and doing the goofy. They're just like. But.
Oh boy!
Yeah. We got Mario over there.
Oh yeah. It's a me, Mario. Here we go.
So. So the other game that we got coming out, and it's in 2017, but it's that same thing. It comes out basically a year after the Division, and that's Ghost Recon Wildlands. I personally am stoked about this game and really can't wait to play it. I'm gonna be looking really into it. Mike, what's up?
I feel like this is gonna be another Division, to be honest. Like it looks like it's supposed to be like the exact same idea, except not
Well,
in
they
New
take
York
place
City.
in the same universe, because that's the one thing is the Tom Clancy games are all supposed
That makes a
to
lot
take
of
place in the
sense.
same universe
Right,
now.
yeah.
I mean, because when you look at Steep, even though it's not a Tom Clancy game, it looks like you're in the Division. the puffy jackets and everything takes place in winter, but the thing that they're doing is that where the Division, like so if you get a headshot, it's not an RPG. You get a bullet shot on something, they're going to react to it as if they were hit in that area. It's so that in itself, as long as it doesn't lag, that should make it all the fun there. And it's a whole country. Like they have literally a whole country for you to explore. Like it's the biggest game that they've ever made.
You've played a Ubisoft game before, right?
Assassin's Creed Unity.
Enough about the lag. I'll back off.
Now, this
Yeah.
comes out, what, March? Okay, so my prediction is this is going to launch PS4 Neo. PlayStation will have the rights to this one.
Yes.
Do you think so? I
it's
thought
on
they had
Xbox
already
One.
said
Yeah,
that
it's
it was
on
gonna be
everything.
both, didn't it?
No, I mean, like, they'll have the, just like the Division
Oh, they'll
with
have
Xbox
the-
One.
Oh, they'll get all
month,
the
they'll
launch
get a month
Content
early.
exclusives.
Yeah.
That could
And it'll be on the
That-
PS4 Neo.
we could see something like that.
Yeah, they'd probably end up doing that. I see
It's
it.
all
That's my
right.
prediction.
We could still wind up seeing Sea of Thieves in the same fiscal year. So then you never know. I'm thinking more springtime if they come out in 2017. Even still, it's not very far away from March.
Right.
No. Next up, we have a little segment that I am excited to talk about. Everybody knows, if you haven't already known, that I don't like iPhones or Apple. Just my personal preference. I'm not saying that one's better than the other, which I am. But so recently, one of our cast members has made the switch from Apple to Android. And Chris, tell me all about this wonderful new phone that you got.
I've gone to the dark side, or
The right side.
or the right side, whichever side. I literally I get confused because it's such like a fanboyism to one side to the other side. It's kind of crazy. But I was an original BlackBerry owner, so I got to mess around with Blackberries and brick them and try to monkey with all of the fun stuff that Brandon, I'm sure you
Me
did
too.
too. You're like, let's see what operating systems I can put on this that are brand new, that are illegal, and let's see if we can make it work.
Yep.
And I did that to Android for a while too before I switched over to Apple. The transition from Apple back to Android is a really harsh one because everything that I learned like 5 years ago, aka the app killer, doesn't work anymore. So like I was like, oh, I'll download the App Killer Pro because that's what I did on my previous Android phone. You don't need those anymore because the phone automatically does that for you. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of interesting. And then like all of the apps that like you had to like monkey around with that Apple had like such a stranglehold on, Android now has either that same app or a better version of that app. The only process that really sucked through this entire thing was sitting for 3 hours at a Best Buy trying to switch my phone from my previous Apple, the iPhone 6 Plus to this. I got a Galaxy Note 7. And that was probably the most car dealerish situation I've ever dealt with in my entire life. It was like, so how long can I sit in front of one person, have a random conversation about the thing we both know I want, and still not have it in my hands within a half an hour? So it was really difficult. But the process has been great. The battery life on this thing is sick. I'm able to get through 12 to 13 hours on a battery, which I couldn't even get halfway through a day on an Apple. And I'm a pretty power user. Like I mean, I'm at work using Twitter all day long and watching videos because if something pops on Twitter, I'm watching that. And so, or I'm emailing back and forth with these guys or texting back and forth on Discord with these guys. So, but I'm pretty happy overall. Like I honestly had like a little pit in my stomach when I switched over to this phone. I kind of made a leap just to get uncomfortable a little bit with things, and it worked out in my benefit. And so No, yeah, I know Damien's shaking his head. He's like, please come back to Apple. I can, the customization on this thing is ridiculous. Like, I can make this literally whatever I want, and so it's kind of cool. And every app that Apple has, there's either an Android version or the same version on Android. So I'm not missing a beat because I was able to transfer all my contacts, most of my apps, and all my music and pictures right over. So it was pretty cool.
We only have one more to turn to the right side.
Mr. Damian Nash, why will you not switch and join the rest of your crew here?
Because
not to put you on the spot.
One thing is my wife. I still owe money on my phone, and my wife doesn't want a big phone. But the thing is my son's up for a new phone, and now he kind of wants this one. So the possibility is there. But
hey, that's how I rolled. My wife is the one who needed a new phone. She took my 6 Plus. I grabbed the brand new phone. And called it a day.
I'm interested in it. I am interested in it. The battery life is a big deal because I was out walking around today and like I started off at full battery, and by the time we were done with like being out doing chores, and stuff for like 4 hours, my phone was down to 20%, and I'm like. Yeah, I charge my phone probably about 4 or 5 times a day from like 20% to full.
How long does it take you to charge your phone from
not
20%
long actually
to full? About how long?
I have a special charger though, so.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Charger special, more special than any charger you have.
Listen, I have the normal Samsung supercharger, and the normal one takes me under an hour to charge my full battery. Under an hour. It's ridiculous. Like I literally
from
at 5
dead.
o'clock and from dead. Like I'm talking at like 6 or 7%, and I come back an hour later and I'm at 100. I'm like, wow, that's pretty fantastic. And that's not even the wireless charging version. That's just the one I have to plug into.
It's
the
just
wall.
I have all my stuff set up on it too. It's hard for me to kind of just do the switch back over.
If Chris can do it, I guarantee you can do it.
I was entrenched. I mean, like literally.
Listeners
like
out there, come to my rescue.
Like,
this is peer pressure. You actually hearing peer pressure at its finest right now.
All right, so you have to like at this point. It's like, come on, like just do it. Your phone is asking you to. It's dying every 2 minutes.
That's one small step for Android. One giant leap for Android kind.
Nah, that's all good. That's all good.
No, that was perfect.
Nah, you're good.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I mean, I think everybody pretty much knows I'm the rather lame woman out of the group, but
no, you're just a baby. So.
Burn. He went there.
Just stomp on my face. Wow.
So we're at the point in the podcast where we like to talk about This Week in Geek, and we actually had 2 really, really major events that occurred this week in Geek, and both will bring us back to an earlier time in the 90s,
80s,
or maybe in the 80s for the first one. Yeah, for the first one, on the 22nd of this month, Zelda turned 29 years old. Pretty awesome. I don't know if you remember having the gold copy. I remember having the gold copy of the original Zelda. And that game is the originator for me of any type of RPG game that you have ever played, because there were fetch quests, there were bosses you had to kill in a specific order. Any memories or anything that you have from Zelda?
I remember watching my cousin playing it and wanting to play on his file and not being allowed to. So I remember as soon as he left the room, I jumped on and deleted his save account and ran for my life. Yeah, and the next day, after I got home, my grandfather had gone out and bought it for me, and so I got to start playing it on my own. But it's that game, so much fun. I mean, you go in there, it's just like it's why you go into anything and you see people wearing anything brightly colored and stuff like that, you automatically think that you want to give them 20 rubies.
Jeez. What's cool is anybody who hasn't had an opportunity to play this game is going to have an opportunity when the NES is out in November. This game is going to be preloaded on it, so generations that have not had an opportunity to play the original NES are going to have a chance to play this game, and I think it's a great opportunity to pass down some of the legacy of what gaming is or was, and what it is now. So, if you haven't played it and you are anticipating getting an NES, the new NES Mini, I would highly, highly, highly recommend playing Legend of Zelda. It is just an amazing game. It's a top-down, and it kind of shows where Nintendo came from and where it's gone to, considering what's coming out for the NX.
I just like that it was a top-down.
Giggity.
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 Go ahead, Mike.
And while we're on the subject of Nintendo, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System recently celebrated its 25th birthday in North America. That's pretty big. As someone who wasn't on the original NES, I admit I played games. I've never played Zelda, by the way. I've never played the original Zelda.
That will be the first game you have to play through.
Oh, it will be. It will be. It will be. I promise.
Start to finish. You're not allowed to play anything else but that game.
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
You have my word. So that's pretty big deal for me because I grew up on the Super Nintendo stuff. That was like my first console before, like most of the games I played were on the 64. So I was kind of born into the part where they were kind of like transitioning from the Super Nintendo to the 64. So I was more of a 64 guy. I was big on Mario Party and all those games. But yeah, do you guys have any Super Nintendo memories?
So many. Chrono Trigger, come on now. Another game that was actually kind of like the precursor to Titanfall. It was a game that it's not a lot of people really played it, but you could play in a split screen mode, and you'd have multiple robots, not titans, you could jump into and fly around. But it was called Metal Warriors, and that was a game like my dad, my brother, and I, we'd all take turns playing back and forth on it. It was just hours of fun. But then, Chrono Trigger, there's just so many good games on the Super Nintendo. My cousin learned how to read because of Mario RPG. Yeah,
That's awesome. That literally
he
is,
was
that
trying.
Is awesome.
He was already wasn't in school yet. He was I think he was 3 years old, and he taught himself to read. He would have us sit with him and read the word out to him so he would recognize it, and then eventually he could read every single line of text that came up on Mario RPG. So he taught himself to read because of that game. And now he's in school he's about ready to graduate college and be an engineer.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
The fond memories I have of the Super Nintendo were the origination of the Super Famicom, which was coming out in Nintendo Power. We knew about the Super Nintendo before it was called the Super Nintendo because the Famicom was already in
Japan
in some of the
time, right?
Yeah, it was in some of the advertisements that was in Nintendo Power, and also it's the death of the box. Like when you bought the original Super Nintendo games, you still got your games in a box. Like it didn't come in one of those open packages now that you see with Xbox or that you see with PlayStation. You still opened the box. You still had a instruction manual on. So like on
Don't
Christmas
you miss
Day,
those days?
yeah, like on
We don't have
Christmas when you went to your
instruction manuals anymore.
you'd go to your grandparents' house. You're like, I can't play this game while I'm there, but what can I do? I can read the book. So that it'll tell me everything I need to know so that by the time I get back, I'll be so knowledgeable about this, still not knowing anything, and then be able to play this game. I remember doing that as a kid. So, they're just minor stuff that, again, word of mouth through through a magazine where you saw an ad and a box. Those are just simple stuff that reminds me of
this is
being a
back
kid.
before the internet was a big deal. Do you remember going and renting a game, and every time you rent a game there was a number on the back that you could call, and it was to get help. You would pay $2.99 a minute to get help from a Nintendo advisor. I actually remember there was two times I had to call one up. I can't remember which game. I just remember I had to talk, and I remember my grandpa told me, cut me off at 5 minutes. He's like, no more.
No more. It's costing us $1,000 for you to figure out how to be Koopa.
I don't pay this much when I'm talking to the ladies.
Shit.
That was a pretty spot on grandpa voice.
Man, the other thing about the Super Nintendo was the death of the cartridge, and so at the end of the Super Nintendo era is when you started going to the discs.
No, N64.
No, the Nintendo 64's cartridge was the end of the cartridge era.
Yeah.
And then GameCube came along.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we didn't have full-fledged big cartridges,
we had
correct?
big
With
ones.
the-
Yeah,
with
it
the-
did.
God, then maybe I'm
This
mistaken.
is like, NC-17 rating, guys, just so you know.
Now I'm blanking.
Man.
Oh, no. Now I want to go to it because it's bothering me.
Look, he's got him right here. There it is.
Fair enough.
Look,
Yep.
there's Zelda.
Oh man,
Turok.
I've got so many memories on the Super Nintendo, and ironically enough, yes, I'm gonna be that guy, and I will forever be that guy. Most of them were rare games. I mean,
One of my favorites from Super Nintendo is Mario Kart.
Oh yeah.
that was-
Oh hell yeah.
yeah, for sure.
So many hours playing that.
I mean, you've got Killer Instinct, classic. Come on now.
Oh yeah.
You know, Spinal was my jam back.
And see, when you bought that in the box, not only did you get that, but you also got the soundtrack. And I actually have the soundtrack sitting in my car.
Oh, I'm jealous, man. Nice.
Yeah, it's got.
And
Yeah, it was.
I don't know if you guys are aware or not, but Spinal is a pirate.
Yeah.
So that right there is pretty much proof that
He's got to be in it.
been
He's got to
wanting
be
to
in.
do-
They got to give a little shout out to that.
Well, he'll be every other skeleton, I would think.
Probably.
I would think that would be cool though. If they were to put like a little Easter egg of Spinal in there, it would be Spinal with his
His spike shield, with the
his spike
with
shield,
with
yeah,
his emblem on
and the red bandana around his head and the cool, yeah, dude, that would be epic.
the scimitar.
And I don't know if you guys know it or not, but Rare actually did a port for Nintendo of the Pirates game, the Sid Meier's Pirates.
Yeah.
They did that. They did the port to the Super Nintendo for Nintendo. So that was pretty cool. And then, man, dude, I can't even. There's so many games they did on Super Nintendo before the N64 ever came out. It's just ridiculous.
Okay, so I'm just gonna. And you know, Mike, I know that you're a Rare fan, so I actually might see if I can grab this and send this to you. I have in the box, still the case that it came in, the green. He's looking. No one can see him right now, but he's like, he looks like a little kid on Christmas. It's the VHS that you got from Toys R Us, that when you pre-ordered Donkey Kong Country, and it has them going to the studio that they had in when they had the treehouse, and it has all the making of when they're talking to Rare and they're talking to all the guys. It has the making of on this VHS, and I have it in still, like, I think it's mint condition still in the cardboard container and everything. That's got all the rendered tree leaves and stuff. That just shows the making of Donkey Kong Country.
This excites me very much. I can't contain myself. I'd probably scream if I didn't have 3 people in my house sleeping right now. But yes, you mentioned this. You no longer have a choice. There is no might. You need to send this to me.
Okay, let me. I might have a couple of them too. Let me.
Oh, you
my
need to send
grandmother-
all of them to me then.
Yeah, I'll do when I go down to Oregon. I'll do some research, see if where I can find. But it should be actually right next. If I remember correctly, it's right next to Dogs versus Cats. My grandma has all these VHS tapes that are alphabetized, and so Donkey Kong should be right next to right around that area in the her film collection.
I'm excited, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let me know when you find those for sure.
Next up, we got on August 24th. There's 3 different things that happened on this day. The first one happened in 2011, so we're going to go in reverse order. So, 2011, August 24th, Steve Jobs resigns as CEO of Apple.
That's pretty epic. He He resigned because of some type of illness, wasn't it? I believe it was cancer.
His speech was pretty much, I have always said that if there ever came a day when I could no longer meet my duties and expectations as Apple CEO, I would be the first to let you know. Unfortunately, that day has come.
Okay, so yeah, it was for the sickness.
And that was amid the rumors of his failing health.
Oh, man,
and
that's rough.
43 days later, he passed away.
If you haven't had an opportunity to read the book Jobs, it's an amazing book. It's really, really good. It's a long read, but it's a really, really good read. The guy was a devil and an angel at the same time and was innovative, and creators often have to do what's necessary in order to get creations out. And so that's kind of the path that he took. And so love him or hate him, he created an empire from something out of a garage, and was able to.
The crazy part about it is he was kicked out of the company.
Yes.
And then they actually brought him back when Apple was like a big thing. You know?
Yeah, they brought him back when Apple was fledgling. Like they were a fledgling company that was on the brink of bankruptcy, and they brought him back in again to get his ideas and his creativeness. If you think of Steve Jobs as more of like Flavor Flav, he's like a hype man. Like
Flavor Flav.
Yeah, he was the hype man for Apple. Like he was the guy who spurned the ideas. He wasn't the idea maker, but he was the guy who pushed the idea makers to have ideas. And so Apple would not be Apple with just Wozniak, because Wozniak would have never created all of the stuff that he was able to create through. It was also through Jobs. So it's like a yin with a yang. You have to have both. You have to have both. And so some of the stuff he did was kind of behind backdoor, and he took some things and he stole some things, but all's fair in love and war, I guess, with Microsoft and Apple, and that's how it kind of went. You know what I mean? Speaking of Microsoft, in that same year on the 24th, Microsoft launched one of the largest products in technology history with Windows 95 that sold more than 1 million copies in the first 4 days of its release.
Yeah, I don't even think Windows 10 quite got that close to that, did they?
Windows 10 was a free update, but there was a lot of people that were standoffish of picking it up. Now the problem is it's been past your ability to free update, and they got people that are like, oh, I want to update to Windows 10, and they're finding out they have to pay for it. So that's where Microsoft's dealing with a bit of an uproar right now.
No, Windows 95 was pretty ingenious. It came out with a brand new operating system. It changed the way people used their home office. It added Microsoft Office into the mix, making it something that was an everyday use piece as opposed to just like WordPad and that sort of thing. And it's still something that people up through the previous generation of Windows were reverting back to use as a base operating system because it was so comfortable to use, and it didn't have issues as opposed to some of the previous issues of Microsoft Windows.
Windows Me?
Yes.
Windows 8.
Windows 8.
Windows Vista.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Windows 95, man, that was my operating system for running EverQuest, man. That's what I used. So I knew that software in and out.
Like one of the major rivalries in the PC world was between Steve Jobs and the head of Microsoft, Bill Gates. Yeah, and like what happened on August 24th of 93, it spurned a lot of that. One of you guys want to talk to that?
Let's see. So in 1993, perhaps the most famous lawsuit in technology history is decided for Microsoft. Apple claimed that Microsoft's Windows violated their copyrights on the visual displays of the Macintosh. The judge in the case ruled that most of the claims were covered by a 1985 licensing agreement. Other claims were not violations of copyright due to the merger doctrine, which basically state the ideas cannot be copyrighted. This paved the way for Microsoft to develop Windows 95, which imitated the Macintosh even more so than previous versions of Windows. So there you go. I mean, you have, Steve Jobs was a rapscallion, but, Bill Gates is like, hey, you know what? Screw you. I'm going to jump in and do the same thing, and I'm going to go home.
Just goes to show you that Apple's been suing everybody since 93.
Yes. Yes. But this spurred a rivalry that lasted over, almost till the 2011 date. I mean, it was about 3 years previous where Bill Gates and he kind of buried the hatchet with the addition of iPhone.
One of the things with that, when that hatchet was buried, Microsoft is actually the one who powers Siri. Everything Siri says and does is powered by Microsoft's Bing.
That's crazy. That's really crazy. I was just gonna say, as old friends get older, you start to realize that some of the discrepancies that you once had when you were kids aren't the same discrepancies you have as adults. And I think that might be the point where mutual respect comes into play. And that's where Steve Jobs and Bill Gates were at that point. Jobs realized, hey, I wouldn't be here without him. And Gates realized, hey, this guy is passing. And like, he probably knew that was coming. Like, he had an idea, he was sick, and was like, I can go this route or I can go this route. And Apple has actually spurned Microsoft. And if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be where we are, vice versa. And so maybe that's where they kind of met in the middle.
It was something. I mean, they've done films based off of it and everything else. It's very similar to like a lot of fairy tales and other stories that we play in video games. We play games that follow storylines that are similar to rivalries like this. And then in the end, they're like, your conclusion to the game is you find out to let bygones be bygones. And so it's something that it's a cool thing to see in the tech world. And we wouldn't be where we're at today with our consoles or anything if it wasn't for, like you said, for that rivalry.
All right, so I think that's going to wrap up episode 4 of Geekologist Radio. Pretty awesome. We're 4 episodes in. I feel like we're getting stronger with each episode. And Mike, why don't you tell us where we can find you at?
Always put me on the spot. Come on.
You're in the left-hand corner. Every time I look up, you're the first one on the left. That's why I go to you.
Well, Damien's on my left. You can start with him, damn it.
All right, listen.
No, I'm kidding. I'm
throwing up the mix. Hey, Brandon, where can we find you at?
First, I want to give a special shout out to the Dozer Hoss for trying to make hashtag Jimmy Tickler a worldwide trending thing on Twitter.
Oh
Pretty
God!
awesome.
Why am I just now finding out about this? I
Jimmy
assume
Tickler?
you 3 knew about it because I wasn't included in this conversation.
I sure did.
I knew about it. Yeah, we
Screw
talked about
all
it.
3 of you.
Hey, I didn't know.
The Dozer Hoss, keep up the good work, buddy. We really, really appreciate it. The second thing is, you can find me on Twitter at BE_FOUTZ, or you can find me over on Fenrir Gaming at twitch.tv project_Fenrir_gaming, or on beam.pro /Fenrir_gaming.
I'd say go to Mike next, but actually I'm going to go to Damien. Damien, where can we find you?
All right, so first off, I'm going to do a shout out to my buddy, so I don't get my butt tased. Eric, hey man, thank you for listening, and we appreciate all the feedback you're giving us. And maybe we'll have to try to get you on sometime. But
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the only part of the podcast that was scripted.
I have a buddy that told me that I was gonna get it, but he actually binged. He sat and listened for over 4 hours worth. I told him about the podcast. He turned it on, listened for over 4 hours. He's like, oh my God, there's nothing left. And then I told him, I go, hey, guess what? Refresh. We just came out with another episode. And he was walking out listening to it. So Eric, thank you for all that. So where you can see me or reach me is on Twitter at Mr. Damien Nash, all one word, at Geekologist Radio, one word, minus the T. And on Project Fenrir Gaming on Twitch, I am starting to make my comeback. I had an issue with some hand crap, and I'm finally being able to game some more. And also on Beam, we are making our way over to there. So with that, I will toss it to Mike. You ready now?
I guess I really don't have a choice. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at AbstractGus. How is that spelled, gentlemen?
UBUBSUU.
No, it's Abstract ACAS. You can find me AbstractGus pretty much everywhere else as well. Gamertag, PlayStation, I'm there.
Or do you need to send him a message? You can do hashtag Jimmy Tickler, just so you know.
Yes. Like literally, if you guys can get this trending, like,
Will you change your gamer tag?
I will not change my gamer tag. No, that's not happening. I can go ahead and tell you that. But I don't even know. Like, you guys should set something up that way there's something I have to do. If this,
We'll make a T-shirt for you to wear.
You have to
when you're
shave your
streaming.
beard.
Maybe. Oh no, that's not happening.
If it reaches #1 on Twitter, you have to shave your beard.
If
Or you can
Jim,
wear,
okay, I got
just wear a shirt that says "Tickle This."
that would be funny. Or our next T-shirt campaign can be something to do with me and Jimmy tickling.
There you go. If it's
Well,
your
I am
face
down
with
for
two,
that.
if
That
it's
would
your
be
if it's your
hilarious.
face with two fingers tickling, I'm in. I'll buy it.
Oh wow, this just went weird.
Oh god.
Just so you guys know, we do have a T-shirt campaign running right now. We just started it up. You can get a T-shirt. You can get a hoodie. You know, it's coming for the school year. And you can also get mugs or stickers. And any proceeds that come from this help go towards getting our man Mike over here a Blue Yeti. So that's what we all want. We all want to have the best quality we can put out for you guys. And so the first thing on that list is getting Mike a Blue Yeti and getting all our audio up there so we can put out better just a better podcast for you guys. So
Indeed.
Get out there and look at the shirt if you like it. It's Let Your Geek Flag Fly, and we'll post a link up to it with the show notes.
You can find me, Chris, at Two Wolves, TWOWOLVZZ, on Twitter, Facebook, anywhere you can think of. That's where you can find me at. As far as our podcast is concerned, for the 4th episode, we are out.